vlog again. Just can't wait to do a vlog again. The life I love is making vlogs for my friends, and I can't wait to do a vlog again. Doing a vlog again. Going places that I've never been. Seeing things that I may never see again. And I can't wait to do a vlog again. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Top Vloggers. As always, I am Mighty Joe, your host. It is with sad and deep hearts that we tell you that legendary pro wrestling promoter Jim Crockett Jr. has passed away at the age of 76. Now the news first of Jim Crockett Jr.'s passing was first announced by one half of WWE Hall of Fame tag team group, the Rock and Roll Express, Robert Gibson. On Facebook, he said, "Rest in peace, Jim Crockett Jr. You will be missed by so many." Now, James Allen Crockett Jr., born August 10, 1944, was an American professional wrestling promoter from 1973 to 1989 who was part owner of Jim Crockett Promotions, otherwise known as JCP, a wrestling company that was affiliated with the National Wrestling Alliance from 1976 to 1987. Now, Jim Jr. graduated from Myers Park High School in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1960. He and his younger siblings, David, Jackie, and Francis, were largely uninvolved in professional wrestling until their father's death in 1973. Now, although Jim Crockett Sr. had decided that his son-in-law, John Wrigley, would run JCP, Jim Jr. reluctantly took over ownership of the company that same year. Crockett brought in wrestler George Scott as head booker, and he signed wrestlers from across the country, from veterans such as Wahoo McDaniel to younger wrestlers like Ric Flair. Of course, here you see him pictured with Stan the Lariat Hansen. Jim Crockett's big thing was that he never really wanted to take the promotion national. He had a lot of people in his ear telling him that it was best, so that's what he did, but he would have liked it, just kept it a regular territory. And of course, here you can see Jim Crockett Jr. and Vince McMahon. This was the feud that really took off the entire wrestling landscape that we would know today later on. In 1980, Crockett was elected to his first term as NWA president, which ended in 1982. He had a working relationship with Maple Leaf Wrestling, based out of Toronto and owned by Frank Tunney, until Tunney's death in 1983. Tunney's nephew, Jack Tunney, switched Maple Leaf Wrestling's working agreement to Vince McMahon's World Wrestling Federation. Crockett then formed a short-lived relationship with Vern Gagne and his American Wrestling Association, otherwise known as the AWA, to form Pro Wrestling USA. Here you can see him visiting with Magnum TA in the hospital after Magnum's accident. Crockett promoted his company as the NWA since he owned 6 NWA territories and was the NWA president. By November 1988, Crockett was near bankruptcy, and though promoter Jim Barnett sold his company to Ted Turner, who renamed it World Championship Wrestling, Crockett remained NWA president until 1991. Now, Jim Crockett Jr. was one of the biggest promoters of professional wrestling. Now, Jimmy Crockett attempted a return to wrestling with a wrestling internet broadcast network in 1994 called the World Wrestling Network. It was short-lived, and he left the sport for good in 1995. Crockett also brought the NWA back to the Dallas Sportatorium for an equally brief tenure during this time. After his retirement from wrestling, Crockett worked as a Texas realtor and mortgage loan originator. He also owned an ice cream shop. He died at 76 from complications of liver and kidney failure. Rest in peace, Jimmy Crockett Jr.